The sirens wailed through the quiet suburban streets like a knife slicing through the heart of dawn, pulling Henry Whitaker from his modest porch where he sat with his morning coffee, watching the world awaken. At 89, he had seen wars, lost loves, and buried friends, but nothing prepared him for the two stern-faced park rangers who marched up his driveway, badges glinting under the rising sun, to deliver the ban that would shatter his routine and soon, the entire neighborhood's illusions. "Mr. Whitaker," one ranger said, his voice heavy with regret, "you're no longer welcome at Elmwood Park. The evidence is undeniable, and it's for the safety of everyone." Henry's hands trembled as he clutched the official notice, the paper crinkling like dry leaves under his arthritic fingers. For decades, Elmwood Park had been his sanctuary, a lush green oasis in the bustling neighborhood of Willow Creek, where children laughed on swings, joggers pounded paths, and old folks like him found solace on weathered benches. Every morning, without fail, Henry would shuffle down the block with a canvas bag slung over his shoulder, filled with birdseed, scraps of bread, and sometimes a few extra sandwiches for anyone who looked hungry. The neighbors knew him as Old Henry, the kind soul who always had a smile, a story, or a helping hand. Mrs. Patel from across the street would wave as she tended her roses, calling out, "Another day in paradise, Henry?" And he'd chuckle, his eyes crinkling with warmth, replying, "As long as the birds sing, it is." But now this ban. The rangers wouldn't elaborate, only muttering about repeated violations and community complaints. Henry stared at the notice long after they left, the words blurring through unshed tears. How could this happen? He had never harmed a soul, quite the opposite. His life had been a quiet testament to kindness, born from the ashes of his own hardships. Orphaned young during the Great Depression, Henry had scraped by on factory jobs, served in World War II, and returned to build a family with his beloved Eleanor. They had one son, Thomas, who grew up to be a doctor but drifted away after Eleanor's death from cancer 20 years ago. Loneliness had crept in like fog, but the park chased it away. There, he fed the pigeons, chatted with strangers, and felt connected to something larger than his empty house. Word spread like wildfire through Willow Creek. By noon, the neighborhood buzz was electric. At the local diner, whispers flew between bites of pancakes. "Old Henry? Banned? That can't be right," said Jake, the burly mechanic from down the block, slamming his coffee mug. "He's harmless hell. He fixed my grandson's bike last week without asking for a dime." Sarah, the young teacher who lived next door to Henry, furrowed her brow. "I saw the rangers this morning." Henry looked devastated. What could he have done? The speculation grew wilder. Was it vandalism? Littering? No one could fathom it. Henry was the man who organized impromptu picnics for single parents, who slipped envelopes of cash into the mailboxes of struggling families during holidays. His kindness was the glue holding the community together. As the sun climbed higher, Henry retreated inside, the house feeling colder than ever. Photos of Eleanor smiled from the mantel, her eyes full of the love that had sustained him. He sank into his armchair, the band notice crumpling in his lap. Memories flooded him the first time he visited Elmwood Park after the war, seeking peace amid the chaos of his nightmares. Back then, the park was smaller, wilder, a place where he could sit and let the wind carry away his burdens. Over the years, it became his ritual: arrive at dawn, scatter seed for the birds, watch the world stir. Lately, though, there was more to it. A secret he kept buried deep, one that explained the extra sandwiches, the lingering glances at certain benches. But who would believe him now? By evening, a small crowd gathered outside Henry's home. Neighbors like Mr. Gonzalez, the retired postal worker, and young Emily, a college student home for the summer, knocked gently on his door. "Henry, we're here for you," Emily said, her voice soft but firm. He opened the door, his face etched with exhaustion, and managed a weak smile. "Come in, folks. No sense standing out in the chill." They filed into his living room, perching on faded couches, sharing stories of Henry's deeds. "Remember when he shoveled my driveway after that blizzard?" Mr. Gonzalez chuckled. "I was laid up with a bad back, and there he was, at 80-something, wielding a shovel like a young buck." Laughter rippled, but tension hung in the air. What was the reason? The Rangers had sealed the records, citing privacy, but rumors hinted at something darker, something involving hidden activities in the park's secluded corners. Henry listened, his heart swelling with gratitude, yet aching with the weight of unspoken truth. He poured tea with shaking hands, avoiding their probing eyes. "It's probably a misunderstanding," he murmured. "I'll sort it out." But deep down, he knew the ban stemmed from that fateful night 2 weeks ago, when he had ventured deeper into the woods than usual. The neighborhood didn't know about Lila, the young homeless woman he had been helping for months. She hid in the thickets, fleeing an abusive past, and Henry brought her food, blankets, even a phone to call her distant family. It was his way of honoring Eleanor's memory. She had always said, "Kindness is the light in someone's darkness." But someone had seen them, misinterpreted the meetings as something sinister. A complaint was filed, suspicious behavior, possible illicit dealings. As the neighbors left, promising to petition the park board, Henry sat alone, staring out the window at the darkening sky. The park's silhouette loomed in the distance, a forbidden paradise. How could he explain without exposing Lila's vulnerability? The thought gnawed at him, stirring old regrets. Thomas, his son, hadn't called in years. Perhaps this was karma for his failures as a father. Yet, in the quiet, a spark of resolve ignited. He wouldn't let this end his legacy. Tomorrow, he'd fight not just for himself, but for the hidden souls the world overlooked. The next morning, Willow Creek awoke to flyers plastered on lampposts. "Support Henry Whitaker on ban, our kind neighbor." Sarah had organized it overnight, rallying the community via group chats. Petitions circulated, signatures pouring in from folks who owed Henry more than they could repay. Jake the mechanic fixed Henry's old truck for free, saying, "You'll need wheels if we march on the park office." Even kids drew pictures of Henry with birds, taping them to his fence. The outpouring moved Henry to tears as he stepped outside, enveloped in hugs and cheers. "You all are too good," he said, voice cracking. "I don't deserve this." But deserve it he did. In his youth, Henry had been a medic in the war, saving lives amid the horrors of battlefields. He carried shrapnel in his leg as a reminder, but never boasted. Instead, he channeled that heroism into everyday acts. Now, as the neighborhood rallied, he felt a glimmer of hope. Yet, the band's shadow lingered. That afternoon, a reporter from the local paper knocked, eager for the scoop. "Mr. Whitaker, care to comment on the ban?" Henry hesitated, then invited her in. "It's not about me," he said softly. "It's about doing what's right, even when no one's watching." As days blurred, the pressure built. Henry visited the park's edge, peering through the fence like a prisoner at bars. Birds fluttered nearby, as if missing him. He scattered seed from afar, whispering apologies. Then, one evening, a twist arrived unannounced. A knock at the door revealed Thomas, his son, suitcase in hand, eyes weary from travel. "Dad," Thomas said, voice thick with emotion, "I heard about the ban on the news. I'm here to help." Henry froze, the years of silence dissolving in an instant embrace. Thomas, now a successful surgeon, had his own regrets, prioritizing career over family. "I should have come sooner," he admitted. Their reunion injected new energy, Thomas vowing to uncover the truth. Together, they pored over the notice, Thomas's sharp mind dissecting the vagueness. "This smells like a cover-up," he said. Meanwhile, the neighborhood's petition grew to hundreds, pressuring the rangers. Whispers of the reason began to leak, anonymous tips about clandestine meetings. Henry's heart raced. Lila. He confided in Thomas, who nodded understandingly. "We'll protect her too, Dad." As the community prepared for a town hall meeting, Henry's secret weighed heavier. The twist deepened when Lila herself appeared at his door one night, frightened but determined. "Mr. Henry, I heard what's happening. It's because of me, isn't it?" She was in her 20s, with haunted eyes and a backpack of meager belongings. Henry ushered her in, offering soup. "No, child. It's because the world sometimes fears what it doesn't understand." Lila's story poured out abuse, escape, survival in the park. Thomas listened, moved, offering medical help. This unexpected alliance shifted everything, turning Henry's isolation into a web of support. The neighborhood, unaware of Lila, continued their crusade, but her presence added layers of emotion. Henry felt the kitchen build, the human value of compassion shining through. Kindness wasn't just acts, it was chains linking broken hearts. The town hall meeting erupted like a storm long brewing. The community center packed with Willow Creek residents, their faces a mosaic of anger, confusion, and unwavering loyalty to Henry. Banners waved. Justice for Henry, and kindness isn't a crime. At the front, park officials shifted uncomfortably under the glare of spotlights, while Henry sat quietly beside Thomas and Lila, who hid in a hoodie, her presence a silent bombshell waiting to detonate. "This ban is unjust," Sarah declared from the podium, her voice echoing with passion. "Henry Whitaker has been the heart of our park for years. What possible reason could warrant this?" The head ranger, Mr. Ellis, cleared his throat, papers rustling. "We received multiple complaints about suspicious activity in the wooded areas. Meetings at odd hours, exchanges of items that raised safety concerns." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Jake stood up, veins bulging. "Suspicious? Henry's probably just feeding squirrels. You got proof?" Ellis hesitated, glancing at his notes. The complaints were anonymous, but videos show Mr. Whitaker with an unidentified individual handing over bags. "We can't risk illicit behavior." Henry's stomach nodded. He knew the video's grainy footage from trail cams, capturing his aide to Lila. But to the officials, it looked shady. Thomas leaned in, whispering, "We reveal her story carefully, Dad. Turn this around." Lila squeezed Henry's hand under the table, her touch a reminder of why he persisted. As accusations flew, Henry rose slowly, his cane tapping the floor like a gavel. The room hushed. "Folks," he began, voice steady despite the tremor, "I've always believed in second chances. That's what the park means to me, a place where wounds heal." Flashbacks assaulted him as he spoke. Decades ago, after Eleanor's diagnosis, the park became their refuge. They'd walk hand in hand, her weakening steps supported by his arm, sharing dreams unfulfilled. "Live with open hands, Henry," she'd say. After her passing, he honored that by helping others. Lila was just the latesta young woman whose bruises mirrored the invisible scars Henry carried from war. He didn't mention her yet, instead recounting smaller acts. The time he consoled a grieving widow on a bench, or mentored a troubled teen away from gangs. "If that's suspicious," he said, eyes misting, "then ban me forever. But know this, kindness isn't a violation, it's our duty." Applause thundered, but Ellis pressed on. "Rules are rules, Mr. Whitaker. No unauthorized aid in park grounds, it's a liability." Murmurs turned to boos. Then, the first twist unfolded unexpectedly. An elderly woman in the back row stood, her voice quavering. "I filed one of those complaints." The room froze. Mrs. Hargrove, a reclusive widow known for her prickly demeanor, shuffled forward. "I saw you in the woods, Henry, with that girl. Thought it was improper. But now, hearing you, I realize I was wrong. I've been lonely too, you see. You helped me once, bringing groceries when my arthritis flared. I'm sorry." The admission hung heavy, a ripple of humanity cracking the tension. Neighbors exchanged glances, the air thick with empathy. Henry nodded at her, no judgment in his gaze. "We all make mistakes, Mrs. Hargrove. That's what makes us human." Her confession softened the officials. Ellis promised a review. As the meeting adjourned, supporters swarmed Henry, but he slipped away with Thomas and Lila, the weight lifting slightly. Back home, the trio shared a quiet dinner. Lila opened up more, revealing her dreams of becoming a nurse, ironic, given Thomas's profession. "You remind me of my mom," she told Henry. "She was kind like you." Thomas, watching his father, felt a pang of regret. "Dad, why didn't you tell me about all this sooner?" Henry sighed. "Pride, son, and fear you'd see me as weak." Their bond mended over stories, laughter mingling with tears. Days later, the investigation deepened. Thomas hired a lawyer friend to dig into the complaints. Meanwhile, the neighborhood transformed. Volunteer patrols in the park to aid the homeless, inspired by whispers of Henry's secret. Kids started Henry clubs, collecting food for those in need. The human value shown community wasn't just proximity, it was collective heart. But another twist loomed. One afternoon, a stranger arrived at Henry's door, a burly man in a suit, introducing himself as Detective Ramirez from the city police. "Mr. Whitaker, we need to talk about Lila." Henry's blood ran cold. Ramirez explained, Lila wasn't just homeless. She was a key witness in a domestic abuse case against a powerful figure, her ex-partner a local businessman with ties to the park board. The anonymous complaints? Planted to flush her out. Your kindness put you in the crosshairs, Ramirez said. But it also saved her. Shock rippled through Henry. Lila confirmed it, tears streaming. I didn't want to drag you in. Thomas sprang into action, coordinating protection. The neighborhood, upon learning fragments, rallied fiercer. Petitions turned to protests outside the businessman's office. Unban Henry exposed the truth, chanted crowds. Henry, amid the chaos, found peace in small moments. He and Thomas walked the park's perimeter, reminiscing. I missed this, Thomas admitted. Missed you. Father and son bridged years and hours. Lila, under guard, began healing, her story a catalyst for change. As pressure mounted, Ellis called Henry. The bans lifted, pending review. But stay safe. Victory tasted bittersweet. The Real fight was for justice. Henry returned to the park tentatively, birds flocking as if welcoming an old friend. Neighbors cheered, but he sought the woods, where Lila once hid. There, he scattered seed, whispering to Eleanor's spirit, see, kindness prevails. Yet, shadows lingered. The businessman's influence loomed, hints of retaliation. Henry's resolve hardened. This wasn't just his story, it was theirs. The revelation hit Willow Creek like a thunderclap, fracturing alliances and forging new ones in the heat of truth. The local news exploded with headlines. Park ban linked to cover-up kind elder caught in abuse scandal. Photos of Henry circulated, his gentle face juxtaposed with the menacing silhouette of Victor Kane, Lila's ex, a real estate tycoon eyeing park land for development. This isn't about rules, Ramirez confided to Henry over coffee. Kane's been pulling strings to silence her. Your meetings? He twisted them into something criminal to discredit you both. Henry's world tilted. At 89, he had faced bullets in Normandy, but this betrayal stung deeper kindness weaponized against him. Thomas paced the living room, fury etched on his face. We'll sue, Dad. Expose him. Lila, now staying in Henry's guest room under protection, hugged her knees. I'm so sorry. I should leave. Henry placed a hand on her shoulder. No, child. Running fixes nothing. We stand together. His words, laced with quiet strength, ignited a fire in them all. The neighborhood mobilized like never before. Sarah organized vigils, candles flickering in the park as stories poured out, other victims of Kane's intimidation stepping forward. Jake, the mechanic, shared how Kane had strong-armed his shop for cheap land. Henry's ban was the spark, he said. Now we burn the corruption down. Even Mrs. Hargrove joined, baking pies for meetings, her apology evolving into advocacy. I was blind, she admitted, but Henry's light opened my eyes. Amid the storm, a personal twist emerged, Thomas's unexpected confession. One night, as rain pattered the windows, he sat with Henry. Dad, there's something I never told you. After Mom died, I blamed you for not fighting harder, for burying yourself in that park. But seeing you help Lila, you're the hero I aspired to be. Tears flowed, mending fractures. Henry embraced him. We all carry regrets, son. Forgiveness starts here. This father-son reconciliation added emotional depth, humanizing the fight. Investigations accelerated. Ramirez uncovered emails linking Kane to the park board, bribes disguised as donations. The ban? A ploy to isolate Lila. Henry testified quietly at a preliminary hearing, his voice steady. I saw a soul in need. That's all. The judge, moved, granted protective orders. Media swarmed, turning Henry into a symbol. Interviews flooded in. He demurred, but one with the local anchor went viral. At my age, he said, eyes twinkling despite weariness, you learn life's too short for hate. Choose love, even when it hurts. Backlash hit. Kane's lawyers smeared Henry as senile meddler, leaking doctored videos. Neighbors countered with testimonials, a digital wave of support crashing online. Emily, the college student, created a hashtag, Stand with Henry. Posts poured in, strangers sharing acts of kindness inspired by him. The human value resonated, one man's compassion rippling outward, challenging systemic greed. Lila's testimony loomed, her nerves frayed. Henry coached her gently, sharing war stories of courage. Fear is the enemy, he said. Face it head on. Thomas arranged therapy, his medical network aiding her recovery. In quieter moments, Henry revisited the park, now under community watch. Birds sang louder, as if celebrating his return. He scattered seed, reflecting on Eleanor's wisdom. The park isn't just land, it's where hearts connect. But danger escalated. One midnight, a brick shattered Henry's window, a note attached, "Back off." Ramirez stationed guards, but Henry refused to cower. "I've survived worse," he quipped. The incident galvanized Willow Creek patrols formed, bonds strengthening. Mrs. Patel hosted strategy sessions in her garden, roses blooming amid plants. Then, an auxiliary twist, a surprise ally emerged. Victor Kane's own daughter, Elena, a quiet artist in her 30s, contacted Thomas anonymously. "My father's a monster," she whispered over the phone. "He abused Mom too. I have evidence records, tapes." Her defection stunned everyone. Meeting in secret, Elena handed over files, tears in her eyes. "You're like the grandfather I never had, Mr. Whitaker." Henry hugged her. "Family isn't blood, it's choice." This unexpected character shifted perspectives, humanizing the enemy through his victim's kin. Elena's involvement exposed Kane's vulnerabilities, cracking his empire. With evidence mounting, the district attorney filed charges: extortion, witness tampering. Kane's arrest made national news, his smug face in cuffs a cathartic sight. The park board resigned en masse. Reforms promised no more corporate influence. Henry's ban was officially revoked, a ceremony planned. In the aftermath, Henry hosted a park picnic, tables groaning with food from grateful neighbors. Laughter echoed as kids played, Lila smiling freely for the first time. Thomas proposed to his longtime girlfriend there, crediting Henry's example. "You taught me love's worth fighting for." Mrs. Hargrove and Elena bonded over shared pains, healing beginning. Yet, Henry felt a quiet ache. At 89, his body wearied, but his spirit soared. Strolling the paths, he whispered to Eleanor, "We did it, love." The neighborhood transformed, shelters built, kindness codified. But whispers of Kane's appeals lingered, a reminder that battles continue. The ceremony at Elmwood Park drew hundreds, the air buzzing with triumph and tears as Henry Whitaker stood on a makeshift stage, the band a distant memory. Sunlight filtered through leaves, casting golden halos on faces young and old, a testament to the community's unbreakable spirit. Today, the new park director announced, handing Henry a symbolic key. "We honor not just a man, but the kindness that binds us." Cheers erupted, but Henry's eyes sought Lila, Thomas, and Elena in the crowd, their presence the true victory. In the weeks following Kane's arrest, Willow Creek healed in layers. Lila testified bravely, her voice steady, leading to Kane's conviction on multiple charges. She moved into a small apartment, funded by community donations, enrolling in nursing school. "You gave me a future, Henry," she said during a visit, hugging him tightly. Thomas, inspired, opened a free clinic nearby, mending his own regrets. "Dad, this is our legacy now." Even Elena found solace, exhibiting her art paintings of parks as sanctuaries, proceeds aiding abuse survivors. Henry resumed his rituals, but with companions. Mornings brought neighbors joining him to feed birds, turning solitude into shared joy. Mrs. Hargrove became a regular, her prickliness softened. "You've taught an old dog new tricks," she laughed. The park bloomed anew, benches engraved with stories of kindness, a garden in Eleanor's name. Yet, amid celebrations, Henry felt time's gentle tug aches deeper, breaths shorter. He confided in Thomas one evening, watching stars from the porch. "Son, life's a park, beautiful but fleeting. Promise you'll keep the light on." The final twist arrived softly, like autumn leaves falling. A letter came from overseas, postmarked from a veterans association. Inside, details of Henry's war heroism, medals unclaimed, lives saved in forgotten battles. Thomas read it aloud, eyes wide. "Dad, why hide this?" Henry shrugged. "Heroes don't seek applause, they seek peace." The revelation shocked the neighborhood anew, but in wonder, not scandal. Old Henry, a war hero? Jake marveled. It reframed everything. His quiet strength rooted in valor, his kindness a survivor's gift. Media revisited, dubbing him the humble hero of Willow Creek. Henry waved it off, but the attention funded park expansions, playgrounds for kids, shelters for the needy. Lila organized a veteran support group, honoring his past. Elena painted his portrait, capturing the gentle eyes that saw humanity in all. As winter approached, Henry's health faltered, a cough, turning to pneumonia. Hospitalized, he was surrounded by his makeshift family. Thomas held his hand. "You've given us so much." Lila read letters from grateful strangers. Elena sketched by his bed. Neighbors visited in shifts, sharing stories that wove a tapestry of impact. "You banned?" "Ridiculous," Sarah joked. Henry smiled weakly. "It brought us together. That's the real reason." In lucid moments, Henry reflected on the journey from band to beacon. The shock wasn't the reason. It was the ripple of revelation, exposing hearts. "Kindness shocks because it's rare," he murmured. "But it's our greatest power." Discharged home, he rested. The community is safety net. Spring returned, Henry frail but spirited, attending Lila's graduation. "Proud of you," he whispered. Thomas announced a baby on the way, new life from mended bonds. The park thrived, a living monument to human values. Empathy over judgment, unity over division. One dawn, Henry shuffled to his bench, bag in hand. Birds gathered, the world awakening. He scattered seed, peace enveloping him. "Eleanor, we made it." As neighbors waved, he knew his story wasn't ending, it continued in every act of kindness. The neighborhood, forever changed, carried his torch. Shocks fade, but humanity endures.